Hey guys. Okay, so first off, here's FL Studio. Here's a lot of random stuff, and what the hell am I doing? Alright, so I'm gonna try to help you guys out a bit, okay? First off, when you open up FL Studio, the most important thing about the studio is the step sequencer, which is this block right here, which is preferred to be left in the corner like this, okay? How does the step sequencer work? Okay, this is where we chart the song, essentially. This is where we play our patterns. This is where, for example. Okay? So, when you start a new project, it automatically gives you a kick, clap, hat, and snare so that you can start making beats straight from the go. So let's try making a quick beat. Let's do a 4/4 with the kick, and every second beat snare. We can make it more complicated by putting beats in between. This yellow light indicates which instrument's being selected. When we select an instrument, we can either do this, adjust the volume, or go into piano notes. Piano notes are mainly for melodies, so using actual instruments rather than using drum sounds. But you can also adjust, it's hard to hear with the kick, but you can also adjust the pitch of a drum sound. The thing is, for some beats it might be cool to adjust the pitch of a drum sound, but if you adjust the pitch lower, you're actually lengthening the wave frequency. So you're going to make, if you're going to take a snare and make it half of its original frequency, you're going to make it last twice as long, basically. Okay, so how do we make melodies? Well, within the channel presets, over here in FL Studio's browser on the left side, we have tons of melodies and tons of databases. One place is channel presets 3x OSC. There are a lot of instruments to choose from. Okay. Then there are other places such as plugin presets generators, like FL Slayer, which is a bunch of computerized guitar presets, or FPC, which is the default drum kit, or Citrus, which contains a lot of cool instruments, such as accordions, things like that. Arps, basses, bells, brasses, chromatics, drums, DX7, experimental effects, guitar, orchestral, organ, pad, percussion, piano, plucked, sequence, short synths, synth strings, vocoder carriers, and wind instruments. In the packs folder, we've got drum kits, we've got effects, we've got guitar, legacy loops, orchestral, piano, shapes, vintage, and even vocal effects.
Don't stop now. Freak me, baby.
So you've got a bunch of sound clips and instruments that you can just drag in. How do we drag these in? Easy. Bam. Bam. Once it's dragged in, if the instrument runs on its own VST plugin, it opens that instrument's VST plugin. For example, this acoustic guitar uses what's called direct wave, which is that particular instrument's plugin, which has its own set of bars and things like delays and reverbs that you can adjust straight from the get-go without having to do anything. It's made to make your life simpler. So this is an acoustic guitar. So to chart, first let's delete this beat so that we don't have to play it. To chart the acoustic guitar into a melody, we right-click and go into piano roll. Then a new window opens up in which we see the notes, and we see this big thing which looks like a giant. It looks very similar to the. If you click this ABC button, it turns the notes into keys. Some people like to see keys, some people like to see actual notes named. I like to see keys. Okay? This particular instrument only plays in a certain octave. After that octave ends, it stops playing because this particular instrument works with a plugin that only has it connected to specific notes. So let's chart a beat, a melody. Once you go into a second measure, it plays that measure as well. So this extends to as many measures as you want. It'll play the entire thing. So right now, this pattern is set to play for 2 measures. If you want to make a beat that lasts more than a single measure, for example, right now, this pattern lasts 4 beats in 4/4 time, which is 1 measure. We can change the number of beats this measure lasts right here. So now, by setting it to the number 8, it lasts 8 beats or 2 measures. If you want to change the time signature of the song, we go into the settings menu, which looks like a piece of paper folded, right here, this button, and go into General, Bar, and Beat. So we want the beat to be 3, which means that the beats are 3. If we want the measure to be in 3/4 time, we set the bar to 3 and the beat to 4, just like we would chart music. Bam. So now, it's a 3/4 pattern. If we go into piano roll, you'll notice that now the entire thing is in 3/4 time rather than 4/4 time. See? Very simple, very easy. And just like in the step sequencer, in piano roll, we can delete notes by right-clicking. Say I have this pattern, and I want to make a new pattern very similar to it. We clone. And then when we clone this, maybe we can do something. So bam. So now select pattern 1, and we chart it here in the playlist. For example, for 2 measures. Then we select pattern 2, and let's chart it for 2 other measures. As you can see, this says pattern 1, and this says pattern 2. So now, if we take this and press this button over here, as you can see, an arrow forms over here. We're now in song mode, and we're now on the playlist. We're going to clone this pattern, but delete everything on it, and make a melody. I like the sound of that. So now, this is pattern 3, and we can chart this underneath it, and then we can play everything together. If you hold Control and drag your mouse, you can highlight, then copy, and then paste it right over. So now we have a song that measures 16 measures right here, and it's basically a loop. To export the MP3, File, Export, MP3, OGG, MIDI, or WAV. I prefer MP3s. You could save it anywhere you like. The best exporting quality is 32-bit float. Leave the remainder is designed for finished songs that have an ending. Cut the remainder is designed for albums or EPs in which one song is fading right into the next song, in which, boom, it just cuts. So cutting the remainder is good for songs that are actually loops, that loop forever, or songs that turn into another song. I usually typically leave the remainder because it allows all instruments to fade out automatically. Sampling quality. The higher your sampling quality, the better the song sounds. It's actually more like the note syncing. So this affects how fast the song renders, but it doesn't affect the quality of the sound. What affects the quality of sound is your bitrate, which for web quality, most MP3 downloads are at 320 kilobytes per second, which is the preferred bitrate of a high quality MP3. If you want really high quality at the cost of disk space, 450 kilobytes per second is the way to go. Once we export this, it takes a little while, even though it's such a short beat, because I have it on 512 sync. I have it saved on the desktop as an untitled MP3, and we can play it, and it's an actual song. The alternative method, which is going to be obsolete within the next version of FL Studio, is to use legacy pattern blocks. You can turn on legacy pattern blocks by going into Systems, General, Enable Legacy Pattern Blocks. Legacy pattern blocks opens when you drag up this bar down here, in which patterns are shown here, and you cannot lay two patterns over the same bar. Where, for example, over here, I can place two patterns in the same track, and they're actually completely separate patterns. And I can actually color them. While here, you can only see one pattern in one place. It's good visually. So, for example, the same exact beat is this. And then you select the melody. So, for example, let's go find a nice background pad to use to actually make this pop out a little more. Plug in presets, Citrus, pad. Let's try cloud. How about conquest? Alright. So an A note in the third octave would make for a nice pad effect to go along with this melody, which bases in an A note. Let's try an octave higher. Let's try this. Let's chart that in. Notice how, because this extends 4 measures, the pattern also extends 4 measures when I place it into the playlist. Maybe if this pad was a little bit louder. You can adjust the volume using this bar. Maybe this isn't the best instrument to use. Maybe I'd like to drag in a different instrument. So let's try Dark X pad and place that in instead and see how that sounds. If you want to study one particular point of a song directly in FL Studio 10, you can highlight a specific section of a song by going up to this bar up here and right-clicking. So now everything that's in the red will loop. and we can edit those more directly. If you take a look at my previous video about advanced audio mastering, it's a bit lengthy, and but if you check it out, I go into detail about how to add effects. But you know, this is the basics of actually plotting a beat, and once you have this, then it's the matter of actually mastering the beat. So for example, I can select these, put them into a channel. I hope you guys enjoyed that basic tutorial.